thought it would be 2023 and I would be making a video about juice jacking, but here we are. I thought this was pretty common information in terms of security, but a couple of weeks ago, the FBI and the FCC posted tweets warning people about it again, over 10 years from the first time I had heard of it. Back in 2011, we're talking like long time ago when I was working at Hack5, juice jacking made headlines because of a DEF CON booth that was set up as a free charging kiosk, kind of like those ones that you see at theme parks or airports, where you can plug in your phone and get a little battery boost. Now at that time, 360 attendees at a HackerCon plugged their devices into this charging station, which was built by a couple of security researchers who run one of the rooms at DEF CON called Wall of Sheep, which is made to educate folks about how dangerous public Wi-Fi can be. So in this demo, the researchers built in a display that would switch from free charging to this red warning sign that said, hey, don't plug your device into public kiosks because information can be stolen from your phone without your consent. Why is that? Well, anything you plug your phone into could be used not only to charge it with electrical power, but also include hardware that can transfer data. You see this in practice all the time when you plug a USB external hard drive or your smartphone into a PC or a laptop with a USB cable. Your PC can see the data on your phone or your hard drive, and you can transfer that data over to your PC. That is because USB not only charges, but it also transfers data. But that capability could also be built into a charging kiosk without your knowing. So when you plug your phone into a free charging kiosk or a USB wall port, they could be accessing your data as well. Of course, DEF CON is full of information security folks. So at the time, many were not worried because they brought burner devices to the con, so they didn't really care. But most people traveling through airports and needing a charged device are not InfoSec nerds like us. They are parents, they're stressed out employees that are traveling for work, maybe their whole families or grandparents or kids traveling for sports events or whatever, and they may not know how dangerous these kiosks can actually be in theory. At the time, the researchers discovered that USB transfer could switch on even if disabled, and if you power your devices off completely, then charge, it would not expose data. Now things have changed since then, because this was way back in 2011. Operating system makers like Apple and Google will now prompt you on screen if you plug a phone into a power source that is also asking to access data. Now you will see this prompt and it will ask you if you want to trust the connected power source before data is transferred. But also, some phones will power on when they hit a minimum threshold requirement of battery, so you can use your phone while it is charging. And the problem is, not all phones are going to prompt you whenever data transference is happening. So we still have reason to be concerned, and even more so because of today's technology. Things have definitely changed from a decade ago, so let's revisit juice jacking. Now, if you like this video, a subscribe would mean so much to me. I use subscriptions as an indicator that I'm actively building an audience here who's really interested in these kind of topics, and it lets me know that you find value in this kind of content. So thank you so much for subscribing, and I also wanted to say a huge thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. Do you know how much of your personal information is out there on the internet? It's probably more than you think. And it's not just your name or your address, it's your phone number and your email address, your social media profiles, your past addresses, your spouse. I could go on. All of this information can be used to steal your identity, commit fraud, or even stalk you. And hey, by the way, that's actually what happened to me back in the day and was the whole reason why I ended up signing up for Delete Me in the first place. That's why it is so important to take steps to protect your personal information. I have done videos about how to delete yourself off the internet, and one of the ways I recommend protecting personal information is to use Delete Me. Delete Me is a service that helps you remove your personal information from the internet. They do this by sending requests to websites and data brokers to remove your information. They have real-life human beings working to remove your data because oftentimes data brokers will require some kind of verification from a person before they remove it. So it's not as easy as just filling out a form on each data broker site. Some of them require a phone call or an email, and a lot of them hide the steps you have to take because they are making money off of your data existing on their site. You can use the code SNUBS at checkout, that's SNUBS, for 20% off any of the consumer plans, or just click on the link down below or hit up joindeleteme.com/Morse code to sign up today, and that code will automatically apply at checkout. Sign up now and safeguard your personal information today. Huge thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring this episode. We need to talk about the two different kinds of untrusted hardware components that you need to be aware of when it comes to juice jacking. So the first one is the power source, like the kiosk or a USB wall port. As demoed at DEF CON in 2011, these power sources could be used to steal data off of a phone. Similar to how ATM skimmers are set up, a free charging kiosk could look totally legitimate and not tampered with, but it could be loaded with malware via a corrupt USB port to export data off of your phone. The second is the cable itself and the AC adapter. Now, disclaimer for this part, I do work on the Hack5 YouTube channel, making a show called Threatwire. I also host Hack5 from time to time, but now Hack5, the company, sells these products, which are called OMG cables. I actually have several of them sitting on my desk right now, and they look like this. They look totally, completely normal. I have a Lightning one, USB-C, and micro USB. So I have all sorts of different kinds, and they look like any other charging cable, almost identical. In fact, pretty much identical to your regular Lightning cable for iPhone, or USB-A or micro or C for Android. But on the inside of each of these cables is this teeny tiny little small chip that can let it run exploits on a connected device and transmit collected data via Wi-Fi to the attacker, which also means the attacker would not need to retrieve the cable after the attack. So if somebody hands you one of these cables and they say, "Here you go, you're welcome to use my cable," you probably should not plug it in. If you see one of these plugged into a kiosk and you think, "Sweet, free charging cable," well, it could be an OMG cable. And that means you cannot trust someone else's cable. I should probably mark these so I know which ones are malicious, because I don't even know what exploits are on these right now. I don't know. Now, while not necessarily a product on the market, I suspect the same could be done with something like this, an AC adapter. So I only use ones from reputable brands and retailers. Now, luckily, cables do exist that differentiate between being data transfer cables and charging, or just charging cables. And that is usually listed on the specs whenever you're purchasing one. You will see if it does accept data, it will tell you how fast those data speeds are for that USB cable. The difference is the teeny tiny little pins and lines that are built into the cable and run through the cable. There's a couple of extra lines for data, and if this cable does not include these, or if they are disconnected, then it will only charge your device. If you are not sure if your current cables are charge only, there's a really easy way to test this. You can simply plug it into your phone and into a known PC, like your own laptop, to see if your phone prompts you to trust the device, or to see if you can actually access data on the device. I stuck little tabs on the ones that I keep in my travel luggage, those cables that I ride on, so I know if they charge only or if they include data transfer, and I never plug my phone into an unknown charging station. I also only use my own AC adapter. The weird thing is, nobody actually knows why the FCC and the FBI all of a sudden tweeted this warning, as there have not been any publicly available reports of juice jacking in the wild. Now, we know that it's possible, and we know the technology exists. In fact, I have these in my hand right now. I know they exist, and it's been demoed at hacker conferences, but we have never seen one of these attacks happen in the real world with real victims. Reports say the tweet was a PSA from the agencies and not really a new thing, just a reminder to watch out for these kind of attacks. But a lot of news agencies picked it up, and honestly, it's kind of a good thing, because nowadays it is cheaper and it's less obvious, plus it is more sophisticated for an attacker to pull off these kind of attacks. The safest thing you can do is bring your own charging cable, like I have my own charging cable right here, an AC adapter. I bought these directly from Samsung. Or you can bring your own battery or AC wall wart and pray you find an open outlet, or your flight has an outlet that you can plug into. If you only have a cable to work with, then bring a cable that is charge only, not data, and I do have a recommendation for this. this. Now you may be wondering about wireless chargers, and wireless chargers can also be used to transfer data. So even a wireless power station should not be trusted. A lot of people say that it's still a recommendation to power off your device while charging if you absolutely have to plug it into an unknown power source, but caveat, a lot of phones will power themselves back on, as I mentioned earlier. And also, who wants to turn their phone off entirely while they are sitting at a boring airport? Most people I know want to use their device while it's charging, and they're gonna sit there and play on it while it's charging, so I don't really think that's a reasonable expectation to set on users because nobody's gonna do that. Now you may want to buy this cool little device called a USB data blocker. There are a couple of popular devices that are specifically made for this. One of these is the Port-a-Pal data blocking cable. Now this one prevents data from being transferred while your phone is plugged in, as it is only built with those power lines. It does not work with faster charging standards like Qualcomm's quick charge standards, but it still charges your device. You can also use these things, and I really don't want to say this because I'm a woman doing a tech channel, you can use these things called USB condoms. Yeah. These are small dongles that work like a defensive layer between the phone and the charging port, and they also prevent data transfer. Now, Port-a-Pal also makes these, and all of them are relatively inexpensive. I don't own any data blockers from Port-a-Pal because I don't need to depend on them. I always carry my own batteries for my own usage. I carry my own battery bank. I carry my own charging cable. But if you don't, you might want to add one of these to your arsenal. Now, I will put links down below so you can see exactly what charging and battery banks that I use. I really love these two from Anker. This one is big enough and powerful enough that it can charge a USB-C compatible laptop. This one is much smaller and it's only a 5,000 milliampere hour battery in here, but it has USB-C, it has USB-A, and you can plug it in directly into a wall wart too. So you don't have to depend on the battery in here to charge your devices. If you drain this full battery, you can plug it in and use it that way too. Now, if you are curious about my other security recommendations when traveling, see this video or watch this one that YouTube thinks you will enjoy, and I would love to hear your recommendations as well down below. Bye, y'all.